Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I was just reflecting on something on the road today. As you guys know, I started a new job at Central Arizona College. Now, in the past, my biggest pet peeves when I'm driving on the road is somebody flashing their lights at me. Late at night, they flash their headlights at me as if honking wasn't enough, right? I'm not out there to cause trouble. If you honk and I'm in your way and I can do something about it, I'll do something about it. You don't need to flash your lights. And I know why the headlights flashing are such a fucking annoying thing to me. I worry if it's a cop car pulling me over, right? And in the past, such worries used to terrify me because I haven't always. I don't tend to do anything wrong on the road, but I don't have the time to deal with it. I don't have money to pay a bullshit ticket. I used to be much more constrained than I am today, and the idea of getting in trouble with the law on the road used to scare me a lot. I had a time where I would see a cop car behind me, and I would just find a way to go somewhere. There's a gas station next to me. I'll pull in, get some gas, get the cop to just go away, come back out. And I've had times, and it's not fun to do that. Your heart's racing a million miles an hour, even when you make it to the gas station without a problem. Not fun. It probably shortened my life expectancy half an hour every time I did that. Easily, easily. It's not fun. But earlier today, there was a cop car behind me, and it didn't bother me at all because I feel much more financially secure. I also have more freedom. So, for example, if I needed to take a day off to go to traffic court, I feel comfortable doing that with where I work right now. And so it didn't really bother me. In fact, I would love to go to traffic court because, you guys know that I have some differences in views. I wouldn't necessarily go to court and blast about my views, but I do want my voice to get heard, right? The judge would probably ask me what I do for a living, where what was I involved in, and all that. So it's not the end of the world. I don't get to communicate with that many other humans on a day-to-day basis. The point I wanted to make was that I was not terrified by the experience today. And that was in stark contrast with not that many years ago, right? I had a situation many years ago where, so one of my viewers says, "Are you still live?" This is a live show. And a couple years ago where I was driving at 10 o'clock at night and I just had the misfortune of there being a cop car behind me. And it was kind of an interesting time in my life. I had just lost a job. I had another job lined up, but I had just lost my job, and I really couldn't deal with getting a bullshit ticket. I don't do anything wrong. It was a 40-mile-an-hour road. I was driving 40 miles an hour. I didn't have anything to hide. I was just on my way home. Nothing crazy going on. But I had the misfortune of being in front of a cop car. I look to my left, I look to my right to see if there's anything to pull into, and I noticed there's this church or some building. I thought I would pull in there, and let the cop car pass. I pull in, and instantly the cop car turns his flashing lights on. And I'm like, what in the world did I do wrong? I looked at my speedometer, I looked at everything, I made sure my headlights were on, I made sure the lights were working. I was like, what is he going to say? And my heart's racing a million beats a second. And the other reason I don't like to have cops pull me over is that I often live with roommates. Other times I even live out of my car. A lot of times there are things in the car that are difficult to give good explanations for, other than the fact that I live in my car. Right? I got a lot of precious metals in the car. I got all sorts of food items. Some of the foods that I like to eat are not things that people would normally think of, right? Seaweed powders and some supplements and vitamins, and it just looks very odd that I would have powders and mixtures along with precious metals, right? You can imagine how that could look in the eyes of a cop, right? And so that's another reason I don't like getting pulled over. Anyways, the cop pulls me over and asks me, what in the world am I thinking of going to a church at like 10:30 at night? And so I was still shaken up. And in the midst of being shaken up, I actually blurted out the truth. I said, "You know what? Nothing crazy. I had just lost my job 2 weeks ago, and I don't like to break traffic law, but I got nervous when I saw cop cars behind me." And he laughed at me. And I asked him, "Was there anything wrong? My lights are working. I was going the right speed, was I?" And I got nervous. I normally probably wouldn't have boasted about all that. And long story short, he checked me out. Nothing was wrong. And thank God he didn't look too closely. I was living with a bunch of roommates, so I did have a lot of stuff stored in the car. He didn't look too closely. I was a little bit nervous about that part of the equation. And when he finally left, I was so shaken up by that. Today, I probably wouldn't have behaved like that because I have some resources on hand, and I part of the reason but unfortunately, I have other troubles, right? Uh, I used to be financially really terrified. I was always living at the point of worrying, what's the next financial shoe going to drop, right? Is my car going to break down? Actually, today, I had a little bit of a scare with my car, but then I realized that I kind of need to be shopping for another car anyway, another used car, and it didn't bother me, right? And so I just took it as a fun exercise to do some research on how to tune up my car, and that was, as opposed to it being a terrifying experience, it was a learning experience, right? I love that feeling. I love that feeling of instead of, oh my God, when's the next financial shoe going to drop? It's, oh my God, when do I get to make an upgrade of some sort, right? Maybe another car. Maybe I get to go to traffic court and speak to somebody and hopefully get my voice out there. Not that I would boast about my life, but having an input in our legal system is nice, right? Instead of, oh my God, when am I going to lose my job? It's, oh my God, when am I going to improve my job situation? I really love having that freedom. Unfortunately, it comes at a huge cost, right? So, for example, I'm going to be teaching at 3 different schools plus my art project, in large part because there's no guarantee any of this is going to stick. And I'd rather, so for example, last semester I was teaching at another school, Grand Canyon University. It didn't quite turn out well, and the reason is because they're very religious. And I allowed myself to get a little bit more uncloseted than I should have. My colleague was just blasting me about that. But you know what? I think I made the right decision, because being closeted and then being different and just eking out a living there, I'd much rather have a job where I could be uncloseted, right? But I have the luxury of doing that. In times past, I have not always had the luxury of uncloseting myself, and unfortunately, it comes at a huge cost, right? In terms of my sanity, in terms of workplace hazards. Yesterday, I think I got myself poisoned with some heavy metal that I was working with. It comes at the cost of pulling all-nighters. It comes at the cost of taking on more work than I could juggle, in large part because I don't know which one's going to go, right? But the benefits are I got to drive in peace in front of a police officer today. I got to be at peace with my car breaking down and look at it as an opportunity to go shop for another car and or to research how to work on a car, which I had a fun time doing. It comes at the piece of knowing that when my boss says something untoward, I could point that out to him instead of swallowing it. And unfortunately, I learned the hard way that freedom doesn't come free, right? It comes at the cost of other freedoms. That's the unfortunate part, right? All right, please continue to pray for me by leaving a dislike on this video and any other video of mine. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.